might be falling into these 5 money traps without even realizing it. Just over 50% of middle-class families are. And the tough truth, these traps are what keep many of us from ever building real wealth. Hi friends, welcome back. I'm Diane. And after a decade in finance and consulting, I've learned what sets those who build wealth apart from the rest of us. It's not just about earning more, it's about thinking differently and steering clear of the pitfalls that keep many of us in the middle class. Here are 5 common traps to avoid to take control of our money. Let's go. Buying a home is one of the biggest financial decisions we'll make in our lives. It's a significant milestone and a key part of the American dream. But stretching our budget to afford a house can lead to serious financial setbacks. Growing up in a small business family, I saw how different things can be. When my parents bought a house in Vietnam, it was all about cash. No loans, no lines of credit, no 30-year mortgages. It was simple. If we didn't have the money, we didn't buy it. End of story. Here in the US, it's a whole different ball game. Most of us take out loans with over 70% opting for 30-year mortgages. Now let's compare that to today's market. The median home price in the US has jumped from over $180,000 in 2003 to over $438,000 in 2024, a 135% increase. And in places like California, the median price for a single family home recently surpassed $900,000. With a 20% down payment, we're looking at $100,000 upfront. A mortgage of 6.5% interest on the remaining $720,000 comes out to be $4,500 per month. Add in property taxes, HOA fees, maintenance, our total monthly cost can exceed well over $6,500. That's not exactly pocket change. This shows how quickly the cost of home ownership can add up, especially in high-cost areas. But it's important to remember that these numbers vary widely across the country. The key is understanding the true cost of home ownership and where we live. Experts have often suggested keeping housing costs between 20% of your gross income. This ratio is used by lenders to assess our ability to manage a mortgage, but it's more of a guideline than a hard rule. In pricier cities, you might need to adjust it slightly, but it's wise to avoid getting above 30%. It's important to remember that 28% is a guideline and typically doesn't account for maintenance costs. You don't want to be in a situation where you're house poor and you're just working to just keep up with the mortgage. Now, we buy homes for different reasons, whether it's families, stability, schools, or more, but it's crucial to know what we're getting into and to make sure we crunch our numbers. Our home should be a place to live, not a financial burden. Understanding the full cost of ownership is key to making a decision that supports our financial future rather than jeopardizing it. Next up is buying a car that's outside our budget. One of the most common ways we stretch ourselves too thin. Now let's be real. Cars are more than just transportation. They're often tied to identity and status. But financing cars that are too expensive can quickly throw us off track. It's easy to fall into the trap of keeping up with the Joneses. You're perfectly fine with your reliable Honda Accord until your neighbor pulls up in a shiny Tesla Model S. Suddenly, the Accord feels a little less exciting, and before you know it, you're test driving a Porsche Cayenne. This isn't just about buying a car, it's about buying into an expensive lifestyle. Now, this isn't just a story, the numbers show it. In early 2024, the average auto loan amount hit $40,000 for new vehicles and over $26,000 for used ones. New car payments now average over $700 a month, while used cars payments are over $500. What seems like a manageable choice can quickly snowball into a major financial strain if we're not careful. So how do we break the cycle? One way is to start by setting smart boundaries using the 24-10 rule as a guideline. You want to put at least 20% of the car's purchase price. This helps lower your loan amount and monthly payments. You want to finance the car for no more than 4 years. Shorter loan means you'll pay less in interest and avoid being upside down on your loan. You want to keep all your vehicle expenses, including your gas, maintenance, insurance, registration, under 10% of your monthly income. So you need to understand the total cost of ownership. And here's the tip. Keeping your car as long as possible after it's paid is one of the best ways to save. And here's another tip. You want to negotiate car prices aggressively and consider the timing of your purchase. Purchasing at the end of the year when dealers are trying to get rid of the cars or meet their quota, you usually have better offer and deals. So the 24-10 rule is based on gross income and doesn't account for individual circumstances like high student loans, large family size, or unique living expenses. If your net income is significantly lower than your gross, you might need to adjust these percentages or opt for a more affordable car. So these are just guidelines, but a starting point to help you avoid becoming car poor. The key is to focus on what really matters: reliable transportation without financial stress. Growing up in an Asian American family, I was taught to study hard, get into a good school, land a good job, start a family, and eventually retire. While education is undeniably valuable and a way for us to continuously grow, the cost of learning in the US has skyrocketed. From 1963 to 2021, average college tuition has more than tripled, increasing by over 200% after adjusting for inflation. As of early 2024, total student loan in the US stands at nearly $1.7 trillion. About 42 million borrowers are buried with financial student loan debt, and the average balance is around $37,000. Including private loans, this can jump over to $40,000. So many people take on significant loans without fully grasping the long-term impact, leading to high monthly payments that can drain disposable income for decades. Education is important, but if you're pursuing an expensive degree at a prestigious school, it's crucial to do your research and ensure that there's a solid return on investment after you finish. This feels like such a middle-class trap, but I also understand why many choose advanced degrees, especially for certain career paths. To avoid falling into this trap, it's essential to be strategic about borrowing for education. Look for scholarships, consider more affordable schools, and always evaluate the ROI of your degree. If you're already dealing with student loans, focus on strategies to pay them off faster, whether by increasing your income, lowering debts, or finding ways to make extra payments. The goal is to manage your education investment wisely so it pays off in the long run. Credit cards often come with enticing rewards, and while there are advantages, they only truly benefit if you use them wisely by paying the entire balance every month. The average American household carries over $8,000 in credit card, according to the latest data. Credit cards can be a useful tool when managed carefully, but they're also one of the easiest ways to fall into debt. With high interest rates and the temptation to overspend, it's easy to rack up balances that are tough to pay down. So for instance, if you owed $8,000 on a credit card with a 24% APR and made minimum payments of over $200 a month, it would take nearly 7 years to pay it off, and you'd end up paying over $8,000 in interest alone, essentially doubling the cost of everything you bought. Now, interestingly, fewer than half of adult credit card holders carried a balance in the past year, showing that responsible credit card is possible. So to avoid the debt trap, aim to pay off your balance in full every single month. Avoid carrying debt and use rewards strategically without overspending just to earn points. If you're already in credit card debt, focus on paying it down aggressively, starting with a credit card that has the highest interest rate to free up cash flow and minimize interest costs. One of the most disappointing things about school is that they don't teach us about money. Most of us learn about finances from our parents, and if they didn't learn it, we're often left to figure it out on our own. This can make topics like investing feel intimidating or out of reach. Whether it's not knowing where to start, feeling overwhelmed, or thinking it's too complicated, it's easy to feel lost. But here's the truth. Investing isn't as complex as it seems, and with little patience and time, anyone can learn to do it. A lot of people hesitate to invest because they feel they don't have enough money, fear the risk, or simply don't know where to begin. But by not investing, we're missing out on the power of compound interest, a tool that can help our money grow exponentially over time. So take Warren Buffett, for example. He's one of the richest people in the world. But did you know that 99% of his wealth came after he turned 50? He started investing at age 11, but most of his fortune was built after 60. Then there's Ronald Read, a former janitor and gas station attendant who quietly amassed $8 million fortune through consistent long-term investing. Despite his modest earnings, he invested wisely and let time and compound interest do the heavy lifting. So these stories show that you don't need to be a financial expert or start with a lot of money to build wealth. Even small contributions can grow significantly over time if invested wisely. Start with your retirement accounts like your 401k or IRA, and consider low-cost index funds or ETFs to diversify and spread out the risks. Remember, investing isn't about trying to time the market. It's about spending time in the market. The sooner you start, the better the chances of building wealth. So don't let the fear of investing hold you back. Start small, stay consistent, and let your money work for you. The best time to start was yesterday. The best time to start is now. And here's a bonus. Understand how true wealth is created. At its simplest, it comes down to knowing the difference between assets and liabilities. Simply put, assets put money in your pocket, while liabilities take money out of your pocket. The wealthy don't just work for money, they make their money work for them. And I came across this interesting infographic showing net worth tiers from 10,000 to a billion. On the left, you'll see different net worth levels, and across the top, assets are categorized from highly liquid to less liquid. If you look at the wealthier tiers, their wealth primarily comes from business interests, stocks, and mutual funds. In contrast, those in the lower net worth categories have most of their assets tied up in their primary residence and vehicles. It's important to remember that a primary residence only becomes an investment when you sell it and realize its value. But then, where will you live? Moving into another home changes the equation, and it's not always as straightforward as it seems. As for vehicles, they're depreciating assets, losing value as soon as you drive them off the lot. The key takeaway is to focus on building assets that generate income and appreciate in value over time, like investments in businesses, stocks, or other income generating opportunities. Understand how money works, know the difference between assets and liabilities, and focus on accumulating assets that help grow your wealth rather than liabilities that hold you back. Friends, if you made it this far, thanks so much for watching. Please make sure to comment, like, and subscribe for more. You can also check out my next video on what the rich don't buy. See you in the next one.